Hey everybody, it's Ryan here with Ray's latest. And today we're going to talk about the kind of newest updates on Cattell Marte, as well as more of a TV update to kind of go along with us cutting ties with Main Street Sports Group this past week into Zone, and kind of see where possibilities of us could go for this 2026 season where it comes to a local TV market. But first, kind of want to just get it, Cattell Marte out of the way. The Diamondbacks came out and said this past week that he is going to stay in Arizona for this season, which kind of it is an upsetting thing for Rays fans because it was kind of, oh wow, like tell Marte, like we could actually go out and get a guy that a lot of people know, kind of like a big signing. You know, you lose Brandon Lau, and then that hurts. And then obviously you need a second baseman. I think Ketel Marte is one of those guys where he produces at a really high level. He's on a club friendly contract, switch hitting second baseman, can play anywhere in the outfield as well. And it's you see guys like that, and you're like, how do we let that slip away? And it is upsetting to kind of see him go back to Arizona. But I think at the end of the day, I do truly think that just the asking price from a Diamondbacks perspective was probably just a little too high. And the reason why I say that is because he's under so much club control and such a club friendly contract that the asking price is it's not going to hurt them to keep him whatsoever, and he's just going to produce for them as well. So it's one of those things where it's like they probably are like we're only going to move him if it really makes sense for us. And I just don't think that Neander and company could bring anything to the table or wanted to bring anything to the table that they necessarily would have pulled the trigger on. So I think that that's kind of the main reason why Marte's still there. And obviously it wasn't just the Rays that were going after him. Obviously there was other teams, and no other teams could kind of get anything done as well. And so I always feel like when you see a team wanting to move a player of Marte's caliber, their asking price is always going to be a little bit too high than what it arguably really should be. And for good reason. They should. I mean, they should want to get as much and more than they should get for players that they don't necessarily want to get rid of, but are kind of open to the thought of getting rid of them. And so seeing him go back to Arizona is not necessarily a crazy surprise to me. I was kind of expecting that the past couple weeks, kind of once all of our big trades and things kind of just kept going down off the radar. The Marte route kind of just it always seemed a little more unreasonable, especially once we traded Boz away. I kind of felt like that was our ticket in that package to get him. But I do like the haul that we got for Boz anyway, so I'm not really complaining about that one either. But that kind of does just leave us with the second base with what it's at now, unless we decide to go pick up a Brendan Donovan or a Willie Castro, or kind of mix match the free agent market, or even a trade market for a second baseman. And I think the free agent market's going to be kind of more where we're leaning to with this 18 to 19 million dollars in cap room that we have to work with, and kind of be able to build up pieces to kind of fix and fit our roster. And so I think that the second base, I think something's going to have to be done relatively soon, just solely based off the fact that spring training starts in like a month and a half. And so when you want to see when you're kind of going into this late part of the off season, there's not going to be as many free agent signings as you think. And Bregman signed with the Cubs, which is kind of I feel like it's probably mainly going to be the last splash in this free agency cycle this past weekend. So that kind of leads me to think that the possibility of signing a second baseman is getting slimmer and slimmer by the day. And I think that arguably the front office's kind of thought process is going to be more towards starting pitching, kind of another back end starter, and kind of see where we can go with that. But I don't think a back end starter is going to cost you $18 million. So that also leads me to believe that I just don't think that Neander's going to leave any money on the table. And there's going to be somebody that gets signed. And whether that's a second baseman or a catcher, I don't know. And I don't think that anybody really knows yet because there really hasn't been anything going on. So I think it's going to be interesting to kind of see where they go with what position they kind of heavily target with this excess money that we do have after arbitration. And so I would love for it to be a second baseman. I would love for it to be a Brendan Donovan or a Willie Castro or a Renjifo. I would love for it to be one of those guys. Um, Heavily, I would much rather a Brendan Donovan, but I guess we'll see, or a real Muto behind the plate. I would like to see that as well, but we're gonna have to see. I mean, we have about a month and a half till spring training, and that's kind of really when you're gonna start seeing the full final 40-man roster that we have set. And so it's gonna be interesting to see kind of where the front office chooses to spend this money. And I think I know where they should spend it, but that's also up to our front office and what they think's best. But I think second base is exactly where we need to spend that money. But we'll see where it goes from there. But I also kind of want to talk about this new TV deal. So recently, I said this past week that we had cut ties with Main Street Sports Group and DAZN, kind of the company of FanDuel Sports Network, that really was not good by any means, from just a financial aspect and from just nobody really liked it. But this kind of leads back towards Tampa Bay having more options for having their own TV market. And Tampa actually has one of the largest territorial local TV markets. It reaches all the way up to the panhandle of Florida and all the way down to Fort Myers and kind of anywhere in between. The only places in this whole state of Florida that don't get Rays games is Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and um, like Jupiter area where the Miami Marlins are. The rest of it is all Tampa Bay. So the amount of people that can be reached from local television broadcasts is massive compared to a lot of other teams, because you got to think like the teams in Atlanta. If you're right around that Atlanta area, you can't watch games. You get blacked out, and it's just the amount of people in the area. Kind of, it's a discrepancy of like how many people can watch. But there's a couple companies that kind of stand out to me that have kind of been brought up to my attention as possible landing spots for a TV deal. And we could partner with Tegna, Scripps, Nexstar are kind of a couple companies that kind of stand out. And that they offer television services across Orlando, Jacksonville, the Gulf Coast. Scripps has a proven sports strategy. They already have handles with the NHL and WNBA rights in several markets. They also own stations that reach Tampa and Central Florida. So it's kind of leaning towards local networks like that kind of already have a proven track record of, hey, yeah, we can do this, is kind of what we would like to see. And as well as great television, also Sarasota, Bradenton, Venice, Fort Myers region, Gulf Coast area. And so kind of having proven local networks that have been there, done that with kind of the sports sector, especially with Scripps with NHL and WNBA ties already. It kind of just helps that they already have that kind of foundation and groundwork for kind of how they could the possibility of kind of expanding into Major League Baseball. And they kind of already have that foundation of a sports background. This is what works, this is what doesn't work, and kind of go from there. And then I've also seen the Major League Baseball kind of taking control of it, but I would really love for the Rays to kind of have that local TV market themselves, because the amount of financial reasonings behind having your own local TV network is just it's the pros outweigh the cons in so many ways. But you guys let me know what you guys think about Marte leaving and kind of the possibilities of what second base can look like at this point in the offseason, as well as the TV update. And for those of you that are around the Tampa area, kind of what you would like to see, particularly, because there's a lot more local knowledge from a Tampa area that I'm not 100% familiar with that some of you possibly could help me out with. But please let me know what you guys think, and you guys have a great one.